somebody at the top that work, you know, we making some money and we putting on a great show for the people, you know what I mean? And that's just where, especially at this time of my mindset, what I'm doing right now. You know, the last one, the last outing, it showed me where I were and where I need to be, you know what I mean? It was a tester. Because if I would have won that fight, I wouldn't have gained that. I wouldn't have been nowhere. I would have been at the same training of what I'm doing.
Correct. You wouldn't change anything.
I wouldn't have changed nothing. So that right there was a blessing in disguise because it was a boring fight. Nothing really happened. You know
you came out looking the same, no damage, like you weren't hurt.
I went right back to training the next day. You know what I'm saying? For me to be out of the ring almost 2 years with just one round of fighting and having a guy that's been
one of the best in the world.
You feel me? And get somebody that have been consistently fighting. You know what I'm saying? And all that and stuff like that. And he really didn't do nothing. But they just go off the little flurries or whatever. That tells you a lot. You know what I mean? That's just the beginning of what I'm capable of doing with less than 3 weeks to train. And even in the training of that, I had to go travel 2 times. That was 20 hours of traveling. And those guys is already injured. They're only 2 and 3 hours away. I had to go to 10 to 12 hours back in, you know what I'm saying, with the whole trip. You know what I'm saying? Breaking camp and all those different things. I'm not complaining. Just saying what I had to go through.
And there is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder back again, back in training with some new intel about his latest defeat to Joseph Parker, what he's learned, what he had to go through, and let me counterpunch. I think Wilder went from confident to denial, okay? And this is a normal trend with Wilder, okay? If you guys can see before, he was so confident that he was going to knock out Parker and all the sparring he's done and, you know, how confident he was. And then, of course, that went from, well, I've learned a lot from that fight. And I'm glad I learned it because it's a lesson, and within the lesson is a blessing, right? And he's saying, well, hey, Parker really didn't do nothing. And then that gives me a lot of motivation as well, because at least I know where I'm going, you know, and if you count those little flurries, he really didn't do anything to me. And I had to break camp because of the long traveling days that I had to go through. And, you know, I was tired and I was drained, and I was still able to do that. And, you know, he didn't do anything to me. And, but I'm not complaining, you know, where most of those guys are already over there, but I'm not complaining. Well, listen, I think, first of all, you need to give Joseph Parker his respect. And him saying he really didn't do anything but flurries. No, there were no knockdowns. There weren't any knockdowns. There was no close counters. I mean, if anybody was in danger of getting hurt badly, was Wilder, because Wilder was hurt. He was rocked, okay? And he was rocked with shots he didn't see. And that could happen to anybody. And, you know, Wilder saying that this or nothing really happened in the fight. Well, that's true. You know, it takes two to tango. Because, see, if nothing happened in the fight, that means you didn't create anything to happen in the fight. The only thing that was happening was Joseph Parker was happening to go upside your head here and there, to and fro, back and forth, in and out. That's what was happening, Wilder. Not, oh, well, hey, he really didn't do anything, and based on the short amount of time that I had to train. Well, the problem is we didn't see that before. We didn't hear that before. That's why it was a before montage and an after montage. We didn't see, hey, man, I really don't have time to train in this short amount of time. Now, he did mention, you know, he was a little weight drained when he did come to Saudi Arabia. He did mention that. So you have to take that into account. That is counting as a receipt. Okay. But the other receipts that are not here or not present is the fact that, hey, I didn't have enough time to train. Okay, so if they didn't have enough time to train, well, that means they should have went to Saudi Arabia earlier, okay, to acclimate, because I think that's 8 hours ahead, probably. And if that's Vegas, that's 10 hours ahead, because I think Vegas is 2 hours behind us. So that's 10 hours ahead or 9 hours ahead. So, you have to basically strategize your traveling program a lot better than that. You know what I mean? Because if that's the case, that means you guys should have been over here sooner versus those guys that are quote unquote already over there on that side of the world, but I mean, it's a hell of a thing with Wilder, like, hey, I did this and I was still, able to do what I did, which you really didn't do anything. But I am glad that he did acknowledge the fact that, Parker did fight for it 3 times before. Okay, and that was his 4th fight in 2023 versus him not getting into that ring and almost going 2 years without even doing a full solid round. Now, logic will tell you that all this is revealed to you now, but why wasn't it then? You know what I mean? That just shows you how confident they were and how really disillusioned they were without really considering the fact that, hey, Joseph Parker is very active, so you better be careful, and it also showed you that they weren't training like they said they were, but nothing never really replaces a live fight, and it goes back to showing you that, hey, you can't just sit around and not fight anyone. It would be better for Wilder if he did take another Helenius fight last year, because at least he would have got some rounds in to see how punches are, to see how these fighters are, and he's saying now, hey, I'm glad that I've learned this because, this is a blessing, because now that we've learned a lot of things, I would have still been, if I would have knocked out Parker, I wouldn't have learned anything. Well, that's the same thing that happened with Helenius. That's what I've been telling people. Well, what do we know what Wilder has learned? Because Wilder he pressed the cancel button. The cancel button is the right hand all the time, all the way through. Bow! Then he lands that, and it ends the day. It's like, okay, job well done. You know what I mean? There's no regroup. There's no after thoughts or any of that. It's just all praise, all praise, all praise, without looking at the result and the review of what he did in the ring. All right. So a lot of times, when Wilder's saying that, hey, yeah, I've been in a situation where I've learned a lot. Well, what did you really learn? If Joseph Parker really didn't do nothing, and the only thing was, the fact of the matter was, you were weight drained. You were not weight drained, but you didn't have enough training camp or didn't have enough time. He really didn't do anything, but I'm glad I learned something. What did you learn? Because all we're hearing is, everything Joseph Parker did, which was nothing, which is a lie. He did a lot. But one thing we're hearing you, the only reason that you didn't win or didn't beat Parker was the fact that you didn't have enough time. Yeah, he was active, you weren't. But I mean, it wasn't really anything that you said that, oh, well, hey, this is what we could have worked on. He's never admitted that yet. Unlike Malik Scott. Malik Scott has went forth and said, you know what? I wanted him to jab. I wanted him to throw that right hand even if the high guard is up. Those are the type of things that Malik Scott talked about. Technical things that would have helped him, which Wilder did not even address. He's talking about excuses. And that's just what you get when you have someone overconfident. And then when they lose, that's the only thing that confidence will leave them with is excuses or complaints. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder before and after the loss to Joseph Parker. Please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!